Hi everyone, so in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to crochet these really cute children's cardigans with the hearts which go all the way around the top, and this cardigan can be made with short or long sleeves. So this cardigan can be made in 4 different sizes, size 1 to 2 years, 3 to 4 years, 5 to 6 years and 7 to 8 years. And in this tutorial we are going to go over the instructions for size 5 to 6 years. But if you'd like to learn how to make any of the different sizes, then they are all included on the written pattern, and I will leave a link to where you can find the written pattern in the description box below this video. So for these cardigans you will need 2 different sized crochet hooks. You will need a 4mm crochet hook and a 5mm crochet hook and DK weight yarn. So thank you very much for watching, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. So to begin your cardigan you want to start off by making a slip knot. So to do a slip knot you want to take your yarn and take your finger and wrap the yarn around your finger once and then twice. Then take the first loop and pull it over the second loop, and then take the second loop and pull it all the way over your finger. And then you want to take your crochet hook, and we are using a 4mm crochet hook, and go in through this loop and pull tight. So there we have a slip knot, and now we can make our foundation chain. And for this size we are going to chain 89. So you want to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 89. So there I have finished making my chain, and now we can move on to round 1. So round 1 is a nice easy round of single crochet, and we're going to start off by working 1 single crochet into the second chain from the hook. So here is the first chain from the hook, and here is the second chain, and we're going to go down into this chain and yarn over and pull up a loop, and then we're going to yarn over and go through both loops on our hook. So there we have 1 single crochet into that chain, and now we're going to go into the next chain and do 1 single crochet into this chain as well, and then do 1 single crochet into the next chain. And you just want to keep doing that all the way along. So for round 1, work 1 single crochet into each and every chain. So I have just finished working that all the way along for round 1, and at the end of that round you should have 88 single crochets, and I would definitely recommend that you just quickly go back and double check that you do have the right number, and if you do then we can move on to round 2. So to begin round 2 you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we are going to start off by working 1 double crochet into each of the first 3 stitches. So you want to yarn over and go down into this first stitch here, as our chain 1 did not count as a stitch. So yarn over and go down into this first stitch and work 1 double crochet. So yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and go through 2 loops, and then yarn over and go through the final 2 loops on your hook like that. And then you want to do 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next one. So there we have 1 double crochet into each of the first 3 stitches, and now we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch. So yarn over, go into this next one here and work 2 double crochets both into this one. And we're just going to keep repeating that all the way along for round 2. You want to do 1 double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches, then 2 double crochets into the next one, then 1 double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches, then 2 double crochets into the next stitch all the way along. So we're doing 1 1 1 2 1 1 1 2 all the way along for this round. So there I have come to the end of round 2, and at the end of this round, for this size, you should have 110 double crochets. So for this size, you should have 110 stitches at the end of round 2. And when I got to the end of the round, if you want, you can just keep going on working 1 1 1 2 1 1 1 2. But what I did with the last set of stitches, instead of working 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, I worked 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and then 1 double crochet into that last stitch. So by doing that, I only have 1 double crochet into the last stitch at the end, and that will make the edges of the cardigan a little bit straighter. So you don't have to do that if you just want to keep it nice and easy. Just keep working those sets all the way along and do the exact same thing for the last set at the end. But if you do want to have a straighter edge, then with the last set of stitches, just switch it up a little bit so that the 2 double crochets is not worked right at the end into the last stitch. So once you have done that, now we can move on to round 3. So to begin this round, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we're going to start off by working 1 double crochet into the first stitch here, and then do 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And now you want to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch. So there we have done 1 double crochet into each of the first 2 stitches, and then 2 double crochets into the next stitch. And now you want to do 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So work 1 double crochet, then a second one, then a third, and a fourth. So there we have 1 double crochet into each of those next 4 stitches, and now you want to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch. And now we're going to do 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then do 2 double crochets into the next stitch. And we're just going to keep working this all the way along. So you want to keep working 4 double crochets and then 2 double crochets into the next stitch, then 4 double crochets and 2 double crochets into the next stitch, all the way along for round 3. So we're doing 1 1 1 1 2 1 1 1 1 2 all the way along. So there I have finished working that all the way along for round 3, and when you get to the end of that round, you should find that you have 2 stitches left, and you want to work 1 double crochet into each of those. So we did 4 double crochets, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then into those last 2 stitches work 1 double crochet into each stitch. And at the end of this round, for this size, you should have 132 stitches. And now we can move on to round 4. So to begin round 4, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this does not count as a stitch. And we are going to start off by working 1 double crochet into each of the first 5 stitches. So yarn over, go down into this first stitch here and do 1 double crochet, and keep going until you have 5. So do 1 into the next and 1 into the next. There's 3, 4 and 5. So there we have worked 5 double crochets, and now into the next stitch we are going to work 2 double crochets, both into this one. And you just want to keep repeating that all the way along for round 4. So you want to keep repeating 1 double crochet into 5 stitches and then 2 double crochets into the next stitch all the way along. That, so I have worked that all the way along for round 4, and when I got to the end of that round for the last set of stitches I did the same thing as we did before here for round 2, and I just switched around the stitches in that last set so that I didn't have 2 stitches in the last stitch at the end. So instead of doing 1 1 1 1 1 2 for the last set of stitches I did 1 1 1 1 2 and then 1. So I have 1 double crochet into the last stitch at the end, and like I said before, that is completely optional, but it would just help keep the edges of your cardigan nice and straight. So there we have finished round 4, and for this size you should have 154 stitches at the end of this round, so 154, and now we can move on to round 5. So to begin this round, to begin round 5, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we are going to start off by working 1 double crochet into each of the first 3 stitches. So work 3 double crochets. And now you want to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch. So 1 and 2, both into this next stitch here. And now we're going to do 1 double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. So we're doing 6 double crochets. And now work 2 double crochets both into the next one. So 2 both into the next stitch. And we're just going to keep repeating that all the way along for round 5. So we are going to work 1 double crochet into 6 stitches and then 2 double crochets into the next. Then 6 more double crochets and 2 into the next all the way along. So I finished working that all the way along for round 5, and then once you have finished working your last repeat, you should find that you have 3 stitches left at the end, and you should finish off by working 1 double crochet into each of those last 3. So finish off this round by working 3 double crochets at the end, and now at the end of round 5 for this size you should have 176 stitches. So 176, and if you have that number we can move on to round 6. So to begin round 6 you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So in this round we are going to be increasing every 16th stitch. So we are going to be doing 1 double crochet into 15 stitches, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and we're going to do that all the way along. So we're going to do 15 double crochets and then 2 into the next, then 15 more double crochets and then 2 into the next, all the way along. So we're increasing every 16th stitch. So we're going to start off by doing 1 double crochet into each of the first 15 stitches. like that. So there I have 15 double crochets, and now we're going to work 2 double crochets both into this next one here. And you just want to keep repeating that all the way along for round 6. So I'm just coming to the end of that round, and I have one last double crochet to work, and we are going to change colours whilst working that last double crochet. So you want to change colours whilst working the last stitch before round 7. So you want to yarn over and start to work your last stitch. So start to work that last double crochet, but you want to stop here. So stop when you get to the last step. So normally we would yarn over and go through these 2 loops here, but we're not going to do that. You want to drop the yarn that you are using and then take your new colour. So this is colour B, and you want to place it over the end of your hook and pull it through like that. And there we have worked that last double crochet, and we have changed colours at the same time. So now what you can do is you can fasten off or cut this yarn that you are using, leaving a tail to weave in or work over later, and we can move on to round 7. So we are now moving on to round 7, and this is going to be the first round using our new colour. And for the next few rounds, as well as using a new colour, we're actually going to change the size crochet hook that we are using. So for this first section here, we were using a 4mm crochet hook. And for the next section, we are going to go up to a 5mm crochet hook. So you just want to take this hook out of your stitch like that, and then take a 5mm crochet hook and place it into that loop, and then pull tight to change the hook that you are using. And now we can begin round 7 using our new crochet hook and our new colour. So you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we are going to start off by working 1 single crochet into each of the first 10 stitches. So we're going to do 10 single crochets, 1 into each stitch. So I'm actually going to work over these ends here, just to work over them for a little bit to secure them. And we're going to go into this first stitch and work 1 single crochet. So not double crochet, we're working in single crochet now. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and keep going until you have 10 single crochets to start. Like that. And now we're going to work 2 single crochets both into the next stitch. So go into this next one and do 2 single crochets both into that stitch. And you want to keep repeating that all the way along for round 7. So you want to keep working 1 single crochet into 10 stitches, and then 2 single crochets into the next stitch, all the way along for this round. So you're doing 1 into 10 and then 2 into the next, all the way around for round 7. So I finished working that for round 7, and at the end of that round for this size you should have 204 stitches. And as we did in previous rounds, when I came to the last repeat I just switched up those stitches a little bit so that the 2 single crochets weren't worked into the very last stitch at the end. So instead of doing 10 single crochets and then 2 single crochets into the next stitch for this last repeat, I think I did 8 single crochets, then the 2 single crochets into that stitch, finishing off with 2 single crochets, 1 into each stitch at the end, and that will just help the edges of our cardigan be a little bit neater. So then once you have done that, so you have finished round 7, we can now move on to round 8, and round 8 is going to be the first round of our hearts. So to begin this round you want to chain 1 and turn, and as usual this does not count as a stitch. And we are going to start off by working 1 single crochet into each of the first 5 stitches. So we're doing 5 single crochets, one into each stitch. So there I have 4, and whilst working the 5th single crochet, we are going to change colours. So we are going to change to colour C. So this is the colour that we want our hearts to be. So what you want to do is you want to go into that stitch and start a single crochet. So start your 5th single crochet. So there we have started the 5th single crochet, but you want to stop here. So stop right before the last step. So normally we would yarn over and go through these 2 loops to complete the stitch. And what you want to do is you want to drop the yarn that you were using and then pick up your new colour. So this is colour C. Place it over the end of your hook and pull it through. And there we have changed colours and finished that stitch at the same time. So we have done 5 single crochets, 1 into each stitch, changing to colour C whilst working the 5th single crochet. And now we are going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So we're going to do 2 single crochets using our new colour. So you want to go into this next stitch and work 1 single crochet, but it's really important that you work over this yarn here that we just dropped, so that you're working over colour B. So you want to go into that stitch and work 1 single crochet using your new colour, making sure that you are working over the yarn that you just dropped, so working over colour B. And now we're going to go into the next stitch, still working over that yarn that we dropped from before, and we are going to work a 2nd single crochet. But whilst working this single crochet, we are going to change back to colour B. So we're going to change back to this yarn here that we dropped. So start to work a single crochet, but you want to stop when you get to the last step, just as we did before, and then drop the yarn that you were using, and then you're going to take your new colour. So we have been working over that yarn here, so you just want to pick that up, so kind of pull it tight, pick it up, yarn over and go through both loops. And there we have completed that 2nd single crochet, and we have changed back to colour B at the same time. And now we are going to work 3 more single crochets. So we're going to do 3 single crochets. So go into this next stitch, and when we work these 3 single crochets, it's really important that we are working over the yarn that we just dropped. So we're working over colour C this time. So you want to work your 1st single crochet and kind of pull this yarn tight just to keep it nice and neat. And then you want to work a 2nd one, still working over that yarn that we dropped. And now we're going to work a 3rd single crochet, and we are going to change back to colour C, so back to this pink yarn here, whilst we work the 3rd single crochet. So go into the stitch, making sure you're working over that yarn there, yarn over and pull up a loop, but stop here right before the last step of the single crochet. Drop the yarn that you were using and then pick up the yarn that you have been working over. So pick colour C back up and yarn over and go through both loops. And there we have worked a 3rd single crochet and changed colours at the same time. And now we are going to work 2 more single crochets. So go into the next stitch and make sure that you're working over that yarn that you just dropped, and work 1 single crochet. And like I said, I kind of like to pull this tight just to keep it nice and neat. And now we're going to work a 2nd single crochet into the next stitch, still working over that yarn, and we are going to change back to colour B whilst working the stitch. So drop that yarn, pick this back up and go through. So there we have worked 2 more single crochets, changing back to colour B whilst working the 2nd one. And now we are going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 10 stitches. So we're going to do 10 single crochets. So you want to do 1 into the next stitch, making sure that you're working over colour C here, and then do 1 into the next stitch. And keep going until you have 10 working over the yarn that you dropped all the time. So there I have 9, so 9 single crochets, and whilst working the 10th one we are going to change back to colour C. So we're going to go into this stitch, still working over that yarn over and pull up a loop, and then I like to kind of pull this yarn tight and yarn over and finish the stitch using that new colour. So there we have worked 10 single crochets, changing back to colour C whilst working the 10th one. And now we are going to work 2 single crochets. So go into the next stitch, making sure you're working over that yarn that you dropped, and work the first one. And now work a second single crochet, and whilst working the second single crochet, change back to colour B. And now we are going to work 3 single crochets. So we're going to do 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches, working over colour C here, so the yarn that you just dropped. And whilst working the 3rd single crochet, we are going to change back to this colour. So yarn over and go through both loops. And now we're going to do 2 more single crochets. So we're going to do 2 more single crochets, working over the yarn that you dropped, so working over colour B, and you want to change back to colour B whilst working the 2nd single crochet, like that. And we're going to keep repeating that all the way along for this round. So we're going to keep working 10 single crochets, changing colours whilst working the 10th stitch, 2 single crochets, changing colours whilst working the 2nd stitch, 3 single crochets, changing colours whilst working the 3rd stitch, and then 2 single crochets, changing colours whilst working the 2nd stitch, all the way along. So you want to keep repeating that all the way along until you have just 5 stitches left at the end. So I'll go over that again. So we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 10 stitches, working over colour C, and whilst working the 10th single crochet you want to change back to colour C. So we're doing 10 single crochets, changing colours whilst working the 10th one. And I like to pull this tight, pull the yarn that you have been working over tight to keep it nice and neat and to stop it from bunching up at the back. So there we have done 10 single crochets working over colour C, and we have changed back to colour C whilst working the 10th one. And now we're going to do 2 single crochets using this new colour, working over colour B, and you want to change back to colour B whilst working the 2nd one. So we're going to change back to this yarn whilst working the 2nd single crochet, and now we're going to do 3 single crochets working over colour C, and we're going to change back to colour C whilst working the 3rd one. And now we're going to do 2 single crochets working over colour B, and we're going to change back to colour B whilst working the 2nd one, like that. So there we have done our next repeat, and you want to keep repeating that all the way along until 5 stitches from the end. And it may seem a little bit complicated, and the rest of the rounds are a little bit easier than this first one. And if you have the written pattern, then all of those instructions are written down nice and clearly on there. And I will leave a link to the written pattern in the description box below this video. So I'm just coming to the end of round 8, so I have finished repeating that all the way along, and I have 5 stitches left at the end. And what we're going to do is we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of these last 5 stitches. So using this colour here, so using colour B, we're going to finish off by working 5 single crochets. And at the end of this round, once you are finished working this colour, so this is the colour for our hearts, you do not want to fasten off, so you do not want to cut this yarn. You want to leave it attached to the ball, and you want to bring this yarn towards the front here. So you want to bring this yarn down here, still attached to the ball, towards the front, and then we can just pick this yarn back up when we want to use it next round. So we're going to finish off by working 1 single crochet into each of the last 5 stitches using colour B, and like I said, leave this yarn attached to the ball and bring it towards the front of your work like this. So finish off with 5 single crochets. Like that. So there we have finished round 8, and now we can move on to round 9. So to begin round 9, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this does not count as a stitch. And we're going to start off by working 1 single crochet into each of the first 4 stitches. So do 1, 2, 3, so 3, and whilst working the 4th one, we are going to change to colour C. So we're going to go into this 4th stitch and start to work our 4th single crochet, but you want to stop here when you get to the last step, drop the yarn that you are using, and then you want to take this yarn here, so the yarn that we dropped at the end of last round, pick it back up, yarn over, and go through both loops to complete the stitch. So there we have done 4 single crochets, changing back to colour C whilst working the 4th one. And now we are going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, and it's really important that when we do those single crochets that we are working over the yarn that we just dropped, so that we're working over colour B. So go into the next stitch here and do 1 single crochet working over colour B, then do a second one and a third, and then whilst we do the 4th one, we are going to change colours back to colour B. So work over this yarn, work your 4th single crochet and change back to that colour whilst working that stitch like that. And now we are going to do 1 single crochet into the next stitch. So you want to go down into this next stitch here, working over colour C, and work 1 single crochet. But whilst working this single crochet, we're going to change back to colour C. So we're going to drop the yarn, take the yarn that you have been working over, yarn over, and go through both loops. So we're doing 1 single crochet there, working over colour C, and then changing back to colour C whilst finishing that stitch. So that is going to give us the very middle point of the top of our heart. And now we're going to do 4 more single crochets. So do 4 single crochets, 1 into each stitch, working over the yarn that you just dropped. And whilst working the 4th one, change back to that yarn that you were working over. And now we are going to work 8 single crochets. So work 8 single crochets using colour B and work over colour C whilst you do that. So do 8 single crochets. And whilst working the 8th one, change back to colour C. So whilst working that 8th single crochet, change back to colour C, so the yarn that you have been working over. And now we are going to work 4 single crochets working over colour B. So do 4 single crochets. and whilst working the fourth one, change back to colour B. So change back to that yarn that you have been working over and make sure to pull that yarn tight before changing colours again to make sure that it's nice and neat. And now we're going to do one single crochet into the next stitch, working over colour C, and you want to change back to colour C whilst working that single crochet. So just as we did before, go into this next stitch, working over colour C, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then kind of drop that yarn, pull this yarn tight and yarn over and change back to colour C whilst working that single crochet. So that is going to give us the center point of the top of the next heart. And now we're going to do 4 more single crochets. So do 4 more single crochets using colour C here, working over colour B as you do that. And you want to change back to colour B whilst working that 4th stitch, like that. And we're going to keep repeating that all the way along for round 9. So we're going to keep repeating 8 single crochets, changing colours whilst working the 8th one, 4 single crochets, changing colours whilst working the 4th one, 1 single crochet in the middle here, changing colours whilst working that single crochet, and then 4 more single crochets, changing colours whilst working the 4th one, again and again and again until you have just 4 stitches left at the end. So you want to do 8 single crochets using colour B, working over colour C, changing back to colour C whilst working the 8th one. Then you want to do 4 single crochets, working over colour B, changing back to colour B whilst working the 4th one. Then you want to do 1 single crochet using colour B, changing back to colour C whilst working that 1 single crochet. Then do 4 last single crochets here, working over colour B and changing back to that yarn whilst working the 4th one. And you want to keep repeating that all the way along. So we have 8, 4, 1, 4. And like I said, all the instructions are written nice and clearly on the written pattern. So keep repeating that until you have just 4 stitches left at the end. So I have finished working that all the way along for round 9, and I have 4 stitches left at the end. And once you have finished working with colour C for this round, you do not want to fasten off. So in the same way as last round, do not cut that yarn. You want to drop that yarn down the back of your work. So take this yarn like this and drop it so it's lying down the back of your work, and then we can pick that yarn back up when we want to change colours next round. And we are going to finish off this round by working 1 single crochet into each of the last 4 stitches. So finish off this round with 4 single crochets. Like that. So there we have finished round 9, and now we can move on to round 10. So to begin this round, you want to chain 1 and turn, and we are going to start off by working 4 single crochets, and we're going to change to colour C whilst working the 4th one. So do 1 single crochet into the first stitch and keep going until you have 4. And whilst working this 4th one, we are going to pick this yarn back up and change colours like that. And now we are going to do 9 single crochets. So 1 single crochet into each of the next 9 stitches using colour C here, and we are going to work over colour B, so the yarn that we just dropped. So go into this first stitch here, working over this yarn, and do 1 single crochet and keep going until you have 9. And whilst working this ninth one, we are going to change back to colour B, so the yarn that we have been working over. So start that ninth single crochet, drop the yarn that we're using, pull this tight to make it nice and neat, pick it up, yarn over and go through both loops. So change colours whilst working the ninth single crochet. And now we are going to work 8 single crochets using colour B, working over colour C. So do 8 single crochets. And whilst working this last one, the 8th one, you want to change back to colour C. So drop that yarn and change colours like that. So change colours whilst working that last one, and now we can work 9 more single crochets. So we're going to do 9 more single crochets using colour C, and we're going to be working over colour B whilst we do those 9 stitches. So there we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then whilst doing the 9th one, you want to change back to colour B. So change colours whilst working that last one. And we're just going to keep repeating this all the way along for round 10. So we're going to keep repeating 8 single crochets, 9 single crochets, 8, 9, 8, 9 all the way along. So you want to do 8 single crochets using colour B, changing back to colour C whilst you work the last one, and then you want to do 9 single crochets for the heart using colour C and work over colour B whilst you do that, so you're always working over the yarn that you dropped previously. So you want to work 9 single crochets using colour C and change back to colour B whilst working the last one. So keep repeating 8, 9, 8, 9 all the way along until you have just 4 stitches left at the end. So I have finished working that all the way along, and when you get to the end of that round and you have finished working with colour C, do not fasten off as usual. Leave that colour attached to the ball and drop it down the wrong side or the back of your work. And you can tell which is the right side of your work by looking at rounds 7 and 9. So round 7 here is the first round of with the cream yarn or with colour B. And round 9 is the round where we did the one little single crochet in the middle of each heart here. So where we did 4, 1, 4 for each of the hearts. And the right side of those rounds will be facing out when the right side of your cardigan is facing you. So the right side of rounds 7 and 9 will be facing out when the right side of your work or your cardigan is facing you. So that's how you can tell which is the right side. So at the end of each round, once you have finished working with colour C, you always want to drop that yarn down the wrong side or the back of your work, and that way all of your colour changes will run along the back or the wrong side. So once you come to the end of round 10, you want to drop that colour C down the wrong side or the back of your work, and then finish off by working 1 single crochet into each of the last 4 stitches with that colour B. And then you want to go ahead and work round 11, and round 11 is the exact same thing as round 10. And as you can see, I have already done that round, so you want to repeat round 10 for round 11. And you can go back in the tutorial and re-watch that round as many times as you need to. But to quickly go over it, you just chain 1 and turn, work 4 single crochets, changing to colour C whilst working the 4th one. Then you want to work 9 single crochets, changing to colour B whilst working the 9th one, work 8 single crochets, changing colours whilst working the last one, then work 9 and continue working 8, 9, 8, 9 all the way along until you have 4 stitches left, and then drop that colour C down the wrong side or the back of your work and finish off by working 4 single crochets to finish. So go ahead and do the same thing as you did in round 10 for round 11, and then once you have done that we can move on to round 12. So to begin this round you want to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to start off by working 5 single crochets. So we're going to do 5 single crochets, and when we do the 5th one we are going to change to colour C. Like that. And now we're going to do 7 single crochets working over colour B all the time. So we're going to work over that yarn that we just dropped whilst working these single crochets. And then whilst working the 7th one we are going to change back to that yarn, so change back to colour B. And now you want to do 10 single crochets, so do 10 using colour B and work over colour C as you do them. And whilst you do the 10th one, you want to change colours back to colour C. And now we are going to do 7 more single crochets, working over colour B and changing back to that yarn when you work the 7th one. So like that. So change back to that yarn as you work the 7th single crochet. And you want to keep repeating that all the way along for round 12. So you want to keep repeating 10 single crochets, 7 single crochets, 10, 7, 10, 7 all the way along. So you're doing 10 single crochets using colour B, working over colour C and changing to colour C whilst working the 10th one. And then you want to do 7 single crochets using colour C, working over colour B and changing back to that colour whilst working the 7th. So I have finished working that all the way along for round 12, and you should find that you have 5 stitches left at the end. So you want to finish off by working 1 single crochet into each of these last 5 stitches. So drop this yarn here, so drop your heart colour and then work 1 single crochet into each of the last 5 stitches. So there I have finished off by working those 5 single crochets like that. And now we can move on to round 13. So to begin this round you want to chain 1 and turn, and we are going to begin by working 6 single crochets. So do 1 single crochet into each of the first 6 stitches. And whilst working the 6th one, change back to colour C, like that. And now we are going to work 5 single crochets using colour C, working over colour B, so working over that yarn that you have just dropped. So 5 single crochets. And you want to change back to colour B whilst working the 5th one. And now we are going to do 12 single crochets, so 1 single crochet into each of the next 12 stitches. So we're using colour B and we're going to work over colour C, or this yarn that we just dropped. So do 12 single crochets. and change back to colour C whilst working the 12th one. And now do 5 more single crochets working over that yarn that you just dropped, so working over colour B. So do 5 single crochets. And change back to colour B whilst working the 5th one, like that. And we're just going to keep repeating that all the way along for round 13. So you want to do 1 single crochet into each of the next 12 stitches, working over colour C, and then you want to change back to colour C whilst working the 12th one, and then you want to do 1 single crochet into each of the next 5 stitches, working over colour B and changing back to that yarn whilst working the 5th one. So keep repeating 12, 5, 12, 5 all the way along for round 13. So I have finished working that all the way along for round 13, and when you get to the end of that round, you want to drop colour C, leaving it attached to the ball, so drop it down the wrong side of your work, and finish off by working 1 single crochet into each of the last 6 stitches. And then once you have done that, you then want to move on to round 14, and I have already completed round 14, so I have finished that round, and round 14 follows the same pattern. So you want to chain 1 and turn, and start off by working 7 single crochets. So begin round 14 with 7 single crochets and change to colour C whilst working the 7th one. So we're going to start off by doing 7 single crochets. You then want to do 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So work over colour B and then change back to colour B whilst working the 3rd one. And then you want to do 14 single crochets. So using colour B, do 14 single crochets and work over colour C whilst you do them, and change back to colour C whilst working the 14th one. And then you want to do 3 more single crochets, and then just keep repeating 14 single crochets and then 3, then 14, 3, all the way along for round 14. And then when you get to the very end, you want to drop your yarn, so drop that colour C down the wrong side of your work like this. So here is the wrong side, so we're going to drop it down the wrong side and then finish off by working 1 single crochet into each of the last 7 stitches. So go ahead and work that for round 14. So I have already done that, and now we can move on to round 15. So to begin this round, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this does not count as a stitch, and round 15 is actually the last round of our hearts. So we are going to begin round 15 by working 8 single crochets. So you want to start off by working 1 single crochet into each of the first 8 stitches. And whilst working the 8th one, you want to change back to colour C. So change back to this yarn here. And now we are going to work 1 single crochet into the next stitch. So you want to go into this next stitch here, working over colour B, and work 1 single crochet. But whilst working this single crochet, we are going to change back to colour B. So drop this yarn and pick up this yarn, pull it tight and yarn over and go through both loops. So there we have done 1 single crochet into that stitch, working over colour B and changing back to colour B whilst working the single crochet. And now we are going to do 16 single crochets. So go into the next stitch and do 1 single crochet, and you're working over the yarn that you dropped. So keep going until you have 16. So So there we have 15. So now we're going to do our 16th one, and we're going to change back to colour C whilst working that last stitch there. And now we're going to do 1 single crochet into that next stitch, working over colour B. And you want to change back to colour B whilst working that single crochet, like that. And you want to keep repeating this all the way along for round 15. So we're going to do 16 single crochets and then 1 single crochet here, 16, 1, 16, 1. So we're going to do 16 single crochets using colour B, working over colour C and changing back to colour C whilst working this last one. And then you want to do 1 single crochet into the next stitch to make the very bottom point of the heart. So we're going to work that single crochet using colour C, working over colour B, and we're going to change back to colour B whilst working the single crochet. So keep repeating that all the way along. So I have finished working that all the way along for round 15, and then once you have worked this last single crochet, so the last single crochet of the last heart here, and you have changed back to colour B, you can now fasten off colour C. So you can cut this yarn, leaving a nice long tail to weave in later. And now to finish off round 15, you want to work 1 single crochet into each of the last 8 stitches. So finish off this round with 8 single crochets, 1 into each stitch. Like that, and there we have finished round 15. So we have finished this round and we have finished our hearts, and now we can move on to round 16, and this is a nice easy round. So round 16 is nice and easy. You just want to work 1 single crochet into each stitch. So chain 1 and turn, and then do 1 single crochet into every single stitch. So you're just working single crochets for round 16. So I have finished working that all the way along, and when you get to the end of that round, whilst working the last single crochet, you want to change back to colour A. So change back to the first yarn that we used, and then you can fasten off colour B. So you can fasten off this yarn, leaving a long tail to weave in later. And now we can move on to round 17. And from round 17 onwards, we are going to go back to using a 4mm crochet hook. So you want to take out your 5mm hook and switch back to using a 4mm crochet hook. So now we can begin round 17, and round 17 is really easy. We're just going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch. So chain 1 and turn to begin the round, and then work 1 double crochet into this first stitch here, and I'm just going to work over those 2 ends for a couple of stitches just to bring them into the inside a bit, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and just keep doing this all the way along for round 17, 1 double crochet into each and every stitch. And you should find that for this size you are working 204 stitches in this round. So keep working that all the way along. So we have finished working that all the way around for round 17, so just 1 double crochet into each stitch. And then when you get to the end of that round, if you like, you can then work 1 or 2 repeats of that round, or you could do 3 if you like. So just repeat round 17 1 or 2 times. So I have repeated that round once, and that will give us a little bit of extra room between the neckline and under the arms. So like I said, I have done round 17 here, and then I have repeated that round once. But if you wanted to add 1 or 2 more repeats to add a little bit more room in between the neckline and under the arms, then that's fine. You can do as many repeats as you like. So we have finished round 17 and we have worked at repeats, and now we can move on to round 18. And round 18 is a really important round, as in this round we're going to be adding in the shape of our cardigan. So what we're going to do is we're going to work along a certain number of stitches for the first half of the front. We're then going to skip some stitches for the first sleeve, then work along another certain number of stitches for the back, then skip some more stitches for the other sleeve, and then work along some more stitches to the end for the other half of the front. So to begin round 18, you want to chain 1 and turn. So chain 1 and turn. And we are going to do 1 double crochet into each of the first 7 stitches. So work 7 double crochets. Like that. And now we're going to work 2 double crochets both into the next stitch. So do 2 both into this next one here. And we're going to repeat that set of stitches 3 more times. So we're going to do 1 double crochet into 7 stitches, and then 2 double crochets into the next stitch 3 more times, or 4 times in total with that first set that we just did. So repeat that 3 more times. So there I have finished those repeats, and there we have the first half of the front of our cardigan. And now we can move on to the first sleeve. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2. So you want to chain 1 and 2. And now we are going to skip the next 38 stitches. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 38. So here is our 38th stitch, and we're going to skip this one, and we're going to move on to the next stitch. So this would be the 39th one along, and we're going to work 1 double crochet into this stitch. So yarn over, go into this stitch. So this is the 39th one along. Pull your work together like this and work 1 double crochet. And there we have made our first sleeve, and you can go back and just double check that you did skip 38 stitches, and if you did, we can move on to the back. So there we have 1 double crochet, so this is the first stitch of the back. So now we're going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch until we have 7. So there we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now we're going to do 2 double crochets both into this next stitch here. And we're going to keep repeating that set of stitches, so it's the same set that we just did for the first half of the front, and we're going to repeat that 7 more times. So you want to do 1 double crochet into 7 stitches, and then 2 double crochets into the next stitch 7 more times, or 8 times in total with this first set that we just did. So keep repeating that. So there I have finished working those repeats, and we have finished the back of our cardigan, and now we can move on to the other sleeve, and we're going to do the same thing for this sleeve as we did for the last one. You want to chain 2 and then skip the next 38 stitches. So count 1, 2 all the way up to 38. It's the 38th stitch, and we're going to skip this one, yarn over, go into the next stitch, so this would be the 39th one along, and work a double crochet. And there we have made our other sleeve. And now we can move on to the last part. So this is the second half of the front of the cardigan. So we have done 1 double crochet into this stitch here, and we're actually going to go back down into this same stitch and work a second double crochet. So work 2 double crochets into that first stitch there, and now you want to do 1 double crochet into each of the next 7 stitches. So work 7 double crochets, and we're just going to keep repeating that all the way to the end. So you want to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into each of the next 7 stitches all the way along to the end, and you should find that you do that 3 more times. So I have finished working that all the way around for round 18, and at the end of this round for this size you should have 148 stitches, and that includes the chain 2 which is under each arm. So once we have done that, so once we have come to the end of round 18, we can now move on to round 19, and the rest of our cardigan is really simple from this point. So for round 19 we are just going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch. So you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and then we're just going to do 1 double crochet into every single stitch all the way around. And when you get under the arms, you just want to keep working your double crochets across here. So do 1 double crochet into each of those 2 chains that you made underneath each arm or each sleeve. So we're going to do 1 double crochet into the first stitch, and the next, and the next, and just keep going all the way along for round 19. I finished working that all the way along for round 19, so just 1 double crochet into each stitch. And now for the rest of the length of your cardigan, you just want to keep repeating that round again and again and again until you have the length that you want. So keep repeating round 19. So you'll chain 1 and turn and do 1 double crochet into each stitch, and just keep going until you have the length that you want. So I would recommend doing around about 11 or 12 or 13 repeats for this size, but like I said, you can make yours as long or as short as you like. And then when you get to the end, you can add a border like I have done on these 2 cardigans here. So I have this little border here at the end, and this is really easy to do. What you want to do is, once you have worked your last repeat, you then want to change colours whilst working the last double crochet of the last repeat. So change colours, and then you want to chain 1 and turn and work 1 single crochet into each stitch along. And then when you get to the end of the round, change colours whilst working the last single crochet, and then finish off with 1 last round of plain double crochet, or 1 double crochet into each stitch at the end to finish. And to get the border to look like this, you need to have the wrong side of that round, so the wrong side of those single crochets facing outwards, so facing on the right side of your cardigan. So then once you have done that, so you have finished working those repeats and you have added the border at the end if you want, you then want to go ahead and add the border up the side of the cardigan like this. So the border is really simple to do. All you want to do is work 1 single crochet evenly up the side of the stitches. So you want to start off by attaching your yarn at the bottom of the left hand side here, or you can just pick up where you left off at the end of the last round, and you want to chain 1 and then do 1 single crochet into each stitch evenly up the side here. So you're working into the side of the stitches, so just work single crochets evenly up the side all the way to the top, and it may help to go down to a 3.5mm crochet hook, as that will help you get into the side of the stitches. So it will make it a little bit easier to get into the side of the stitches if you just reduce the size of your crochet hook a little bit. And a little tip that I like to do is, if you have a look at our cardigan here, you can see at the very top it does start to come in slightly here. So the edge is really straight, and then kind of when you get to this top section above the heart, the edge does slightly come in. So what you can do is, when the edge slightly comes in like this, is you can switch from a single crochet to a half double crochet. And as the half double crochets are a little bit longer than the single crochets, this will come out a little bit more on this edge, and it will give you a really nice straight border. So you don't have to do that, but I just like to do that to make the edges a little bit neater. So you want to work that border all the way up, and when you get to the very top of the left hand side, fasten off, and then you want to attach 2 buttons to the top of the left hand side. So I attached one here on the very top and one here in the middle, and then you want to do the exact same thing. So you want to do the same border on the right hand side, but we're going to start at the top and work down. So again, you can do the half double crochets in this top section here if you want, and then go down to a single crochet. But on this side, when you are opposite a button, you want to chain 2 and skip the next stitch, and that will create a little button loop. And if you're using bigger buttons than I have done here, then you may want to chain 3, or if you're using smaller buttons, then you may just need to chain 1. But I have chained 2 and skipped the next stitch when I was opposite a button to create a button loop. And then once you have done that, you then want to weave all of your ends in nice and securely into the inside of your cardigan. So weave all of your ends in, and then the very last thing that you need to do, and this is completely optional, is add the long sleeves. So you can just stop and leave the sleeves short, which is what I did on this cardigan here. But if you do want to add long sleeves like this, then I will show you how to do that now. So before you add the long sleeves, I would definitely recommend finishing all of the other parts of your cardigan first. As you can see, I haven't done that, but for the sake of this tutorial, I can still go ahead and show you how to add the long sleeves. So when you're adding the sleeves, it's really important to make sure that you have the wrong side of this last round here facing you. So here you can see we have the wrong side of these stitches of this last round, and we need to make sure that that wrong side is facing us. So I'm going to start off with this sleeve here, and you want to attach your yarn into any stitch along the back. So I have the back facing me with the wrong side of these stitches, and I have my 4mm crochet hook, and we're going to attach our yarn into any stitch along the back. So I'm going to go with this one here and insert your hook into that stitch, place the yarn over your hook and go through, and then chain 1 to secure it. And then we're going to do 1 double crochet into this stitch and 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and keep going all the way around. So keep going, working 1 double crochet into each stitch until you reach this underarm section here. So keep working 1 double crochet into each stitch until you reach the underarm section. So like that. So I have worked 1 double crochet into each stitch. So I have worked 1 double crochet into this last stitch here, which has not already been worked into for the front. So you can see that this stitch here has already been worked into for the front of our cardigan. So I've worked 1 double crochet into this last stitch here, and now we have reached the underarm section, and we are going to work 5 double crochets into this underarm section. So across this section here, you want to work 5 double crochets. So I'm going to do 1 double crochet here, and then I'm going to do 1 here. So we're going into the side of these stitches, and this can sometimes be a little bit tricky. So that's my second one. And then I'm going to do a third one here, and then a fourth, and then a fifth. And if you want to work 6 or 7 double crochets into this underarm section just to make the arms or the sleeves a little bit roomier, then that is fine. You can do as many as you like. I would say do a maximum of 7 or 8, but if you do work more double crochets into that underarm section, make sure that you do the same for the other sleeves so that the sleeves are the same size. So there I have done 5 double crochets into that underarm section, and I'm going to do 1 double crochet into the next stitch here. So this is the next empty stitch which has not already been worked into, and then I'm going to keep going, working 1 double crochet into each stitch until we reach where we started. So like that. So there we have finished our sleeve, and you should find that you have 5 more stitches than you skipped for your sleeve around. So for this size we skipped 38 stitches for our sleeves originally. So we should have 38 stitches plus the 5 that we worked into the underarm section. So we should have 43 double crochets for each round of our sleeves. And then you want to finish off by working a slip stitch into the first double crochet that you worked. So there we have round 1 of our sleeves complete, and now for the rest of the sleeve you just want to chain 1 and turn and work 1 double crochet into every single stitch around, and then finish off with a slip stitch into the first double crochet of the round. And you want to keep repeating that until you have the length sleeve that you want. And if you want to do a border at the end here, then you just want to do the same thing as you did for the bottom of the cardigan. So just keep repeating rounds of plain double crochet for your sleeve, and if you want to add a border at the end, then do it in the same way as you did at the bottom here. And you want to do those exact same steps for both sleeves. So you want to repeat round 1 and then all of those other rounds for the other sleeve as we just did for that first one. And then once you have done that and you have weaved all of your ends nice and securely into the inside of your cardigan, we have finished. And the very last thing that you can do, and now this is completely optional, is you may want to block your cardigan. So I just pinned mine into place, sprayed it lightly with water and then left it to dry, and I just find that helps the cardigan keep its shape a little bit, and these ends which do tend to curl up, it helps keep them down. But like I said, that's completely optional, and please make sure that the yarn that you used, that it's okay to block the yarn in that way. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it easy to follow. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. And in the description box below this video, I will leave a link to where you can find the written pattern. So the written pattern includes all 4 sizes. And in the description box below this video, I will also leave a link to my Instagram account. So I always like to post updates and pictures on there, and I would love to see photos of your crochet work on there as well. And thank you again for watching. Bye.